there's a lot of pluses for a big multinational consulting firm. There's the structure, there's the approach, the methodologies that they have for the work, but also the structure. And I talked a little bit about the support networks, be it finance, HR, etc., but also your colleagues. But would I go back? I'm glad I was there. I enjoyed my time there. I would recommend it to anyone who gets the opportunity to join one of the big consulting firms. Do, it's an education. But I'm very pleased where I am now. And I've no regrets about where I am now. At this stage, I'm used to making the decisions and having the ultimate decision. So certainly I don't miss that side of it so much, but I enjoyed my time there, and I'd recommend it to anyone. But being your own boss, I think that's something special.
Hello and welcome to the GYFT Show. My guest today is Donnacha Phelan, co-founder of the Keystone Procurement Group and slew more.
It wasn't always my ambition to be a business owner. I suppose came to entrepreneurship through a long path, a varied path. I'm in my mid-40s now, and became an entrepreneur about 5 years ago, so late 30s. Before that, I spent some time in UCD, almost 11 years as a student and a postgraduate student studying computer science. And while there, I suppose I developed a big interest and a great love of solving problems. So when I left the UCD, I joined a management consultancy firm, again, focusing on helping businesses solve problems, addressing issues, finding out what was wrong, making things better, and particularly around processes and maybe the technology side of things, drawing on my computer science background. I had 7 or 8 years with that firm, and I enjoyed it very much. But around about 2015, I suppose I started to get an itch to be my own boss, to do things for myself, to set the direction of where I was going. And around that time, a good friend of mine, Ross McCarthy, who also worked at the same firm, was striking out for himself as well to found Keystone Procurement Group. And over lunch, he asked me would I like to join him, like to come along for the ride, so as to speak. So that was Keystone Procurement. Over the last 5 years, the firm grew. We brought on board 2 more former colleagues from our previous job. So we grew the business, and we were looking for a way in which we could, I suppose, help more businesses, leverage our experience, leverage our knowledge, our insights about procurement, and help more small to medium businesses discover the right buyers or suppliers for them. And from that problem was born slewamore.com. So Slewamore is a software as a service solution for SMEs, for small and medium enterprises. And we spent the last couple of years developing that into a platform that's connecting a growing community of buyers and suppliers. And that community ethos actually is very important to us, which is part of the reason we chose the name. You might remember you're Irish from school, John, but Slua. Yeah. Slua is the Irish for crowd, and more, of course, is big. So translated, it's the big crowd, and that's our ambition for Slewamore, is communities of businesses helping each other to connect, to make deals, to find the suppliers that they need, to find the buyers for their products.
Yeah, that's a very comprehensive introduction. What did you learn about yourself as a person when you moved from the big management consultancy practice into a business startup called Keystone Procurement Group?
Well, yes. Well, I certainly got to be in the driving seat, that's for sure. And one of the first things you learn When you become an entrepreneur and there's just yourself, or just the two of us, as it was with myself and Ross at the start, you're responsible for all the decisions, but solving all the problems. There isn't a HR department, there isn't an IT department. That's you. So that was the first thing I realized. And for somebody, I suppose, who enjoys solving problems, it wasn't a bad situation to be in, because it was invigorating. I enjoy it, and I certainly found that it's something I haven't regretted one bit since the first day since we started. It's that sense that you get to choose the direction. You get to figure out where you're going to go, and you're then accountable to yourself, of course, because you're responsible, because there's no supports. You're responsible for achieving your goals, achieving your targets, and making it happen.
Do you hope to go international in terms of your database of suppliers and buyers?
We
Because we
already
take
are.
great
We
stuff.
are. We already are, John. So yeah, we have Ireland's largest procurement database, but we also have a EU-wide spend data as well. So we can provide insights into who's buying and who's supplying goods and services right across the EU. That will be expanding as we develop the business. We have customers who are based not only in Ireland, but internationally as well. So we are an international business.
You mentioned at the beginning of the interview that you spent nearly 11 years in UCD. And I said to myself, the everlasting student, I suppose you
The
could say
eternal
it's very,
student.
very Germanic nearly. But anyway, what was the reason for spending almost 11 years in UCD?
I'm laughing at you, John, because my wife is German.
Oh, yeah.
So I don't know. Maybe there's something in what you said about it being very dramatic. I enjoyed my time in UCD. I have no regrets about spending 11 years in college. It's probably, from a personal development thing, the best thing I ever did. So there were very happy memories of my time in UCD. I went up there in the mid 1990s. That's a while ago now. I went there in the last century to study a science degree, and I majored in computer science. And I stayed on as a postgraduate student. So, I got to experience life as a student there, as an undergrad student, as a postgraduate in the computer science department, as it was then. It's now the School of Computer Science and Informatics. It was a much smaller community there as well, so I spent a lot of time with the lecturers and the researchers. So it was really good. It was a really good environment to learn and to grow and to develop my skills as an analyst and a technology specialist.
If you were to start either Slew More or Keystone Procurement Group again, what
Mm.
would you do differently on this occasion?
Well, that's an interesting question. What would I do differently? Well, I let me flip it a small bit on you, John. I'll tell you what I'm glad I did. Um, I'm glad that we sat down and we had a series of goals and objectives that we agreed, and particularly because there was more than one of us. There was two of us at the time. Then it grew to four, and now, in fact, there's seven people involved in slowmore.com. So it was very important that we sat down and agreed what our goals were for the business, and who would do what, and the responsibilities, and how we would be, accountable to each other. There's that word again. So I'm glad we did that. Um, what I would say is, it's important to be flexible as well and to be agile, because while you have your goals that you're working towards, opportunities, particularly as a small business, opportunities arise. Sometimes you have to pivot. Sometimes obstacles get put in your path and you have to move. Sometimes an opportunity comes that's too big to ignore. So I would, I would say that flexibility is important. with Keystone in particular, we tried to do a lot. We tried to replicate a lot of the services we were providing in a large consultancy. And when you're a small business trying to establish yourself, it's very good that if you become known for a certain set of skills, a certain set of services. So what I would have done differently is those goals and those objectives that we had for the business, I would have pared them back a little bit, been a little bit more specific in them, and not try to cover ourselves too thin. And that being said, then be prepared that if you do need to pivot, that you move quickly and you make that change as you need to do it.
Would you consider yourself a better listener having founded Keystone Procurement Group and slew more?
I would like to think that I'm continuing to get better as a listener. Whether it's because of my role as a founder, or because I'm getting a little bit older and a little bit wiser with each day that passes. But certainly, I'm very conscious and have been as a business owner that it is important to listen to those around you, and I'm fortunate that I have colleagues who are on the journey with me, to listen to those who work for you, to listen to your customers, to listen to potential customers, the people that you encounter when you're at these networking meetings, etc. Yeah, I suppose I am a better listener, but it's a journey I'm on, and tomorrow I'll be a little bit better, hopefully. And there's always lessons to learn.
Good man. And in terms of pastimes, you're obviously a busy person at work, you're married. What do you do for pastimes?
Well, I enjoy football. I used to play a little five-a-side, not so much now anymore. Things have been a little bit difficult with COVID. For my sins, I support Liverpool Football Club, and I, try to get across there for games. Again, COVID has impacted that. I enjoy a little bit of home brewing. So that's my voice, maybe. But it's not the worst voice you could have in the world. And I'm also a bit of a train geek, so I have some model railways as well that I'm into too. So yeah,
That's a very interesting pastime
that's
because,
eclectic, isn't it? An eclectic
yeah,
mix of hobbies and interests.
yeah, because all over the UK and Europe you have these heritage railway lines. Because going back
Mm,
to the 1950s in the UK when you had the beaching, or was it the 1960s when you had beaching, and all these railway lines were closed. Many of them now are heritage railway lines and they're great for summer tourism. Would that be on your bucket list? May I
to have a
ask?
heritage railway or to visit heritage railways. Yeah, there's some great lines in the UK. We took a slightly different tack in Ireland, of course, didn't we? Many of the lines that we closed got taken up. But the flip side is some of the ones, particularly the ones through the more scenic parts of the country, are now greenways. So you can travel the old railway line to Dungarvan. You've got the Great Western Greenway, the new greenway down in Kerry that they're working on, and parts of the greenway from Dublin to Galway. So what's on my bucket list actually is to get along some of those and to try those. I'll give a shout out though, since you brought up heritage railways. The oldest heritage railway in Ireland, in terms of um, continuously operating, is in my own home county of Laois. So a big shout out to the Stradbally Woodland Railway. If you go to Electric Picnic, not on this year, unfortunately, but in the grounds of Stradbally Hall, there is a narrow gauge railway, steam railway. So it's the oldest continuously running heritage railway in Ireland, north or south.
Very good.
There you go. Now some railway trivia for you.
Mm. And what does the future hold for Donnacha Phelan as a person?
Mm, That's an interesting question. I'm enjoying what I'm doing at the moment. So right now the focus is on Slough More in particular, growing that. We want to increase the number of users and grow the business internationally, so that it truly is a worldwide platform. So we've big plans and big ambitions for slowmore.com. Longer term, as I said, my wife is German. I'm Irish. We live in Dublin. I'd like to spend some more time between the two countries. She's from a very beautiful part of Germany, the Rhine Valley, the romantic Rhine Valley. So that's a part of the world that I like to visit, and I would like to spend some more time there longer term. But that's probably a little bit into the future at this stage.
Do you miss the formality of a big multinational management consultancy firm?
The formality, well, that's almost a loaded question. Who enjoys formality? There's a lot of pluses for a big multinational consulting firm. There's the structure, there's the approach, the methodologies that they have for the work, but also the structure. And I talked a little bit about the support networks, be it finance, HR, etc., but also your colleagues. And I met some fabulous people working there. There's a lot of very bright, very driven, very focused people working there during my time there, and still there at the moment. But would I go back? I'm glad I was there. I enjoyed my time there. I would recommend it to anyone who gets the opportunity to join one of the big consulting firms. Do, it's an education. But I'm very pleased where I am now. And I've no regrets about where I am now. I'm comfortable, I suppose, working as an individual. Sometimes it's just myself and the dog here at home, during COVID lockdown, when my wife is at work teaching. She teaches in TU Dublin. But that's okay. We still get to meet plenty of clients, go out and visit clients, and there's still plenty of human interaction. So in short, I don't miss it. Yeah, a little bit of formality, a little bit of structure. You might have to get sign off for certain things that, I at this stage, I'm used to making the decisions and having the ultimate decision. So certainly I don't miss that side of it so much, but I enjoyed my time there, and I'd recommend it to anyone. But being your own boss, I think that's something special.
Very true. Very, very true. And a final question for Donnacha as a person. Have you improved as a salesperson since you founded Slough More and Keystone Procurement Group?
Short answer, yes, because you have no support. You have to go out, you have to put yourself out there, you have to knock at the doors, you have to pick up the phones. The long answer is I've never enjoyed sales, cold calling, that kind of thing. But I found that, if you're bringing something to people that's going to help them and that they're going to benefit from, people are very willing to listen and to give you the time. So yeah, I have improved, not to the point of where I love doing sales, and my colleagues, when they listen back to this and they hear me talking about cold calling and sales, they'll be saying, yeah, Donnacha is not the biggest fan of that, but certainly I am far better at it. And the more you do, the more confident you get. And sales, by the way, it's not just the hard sell, it's also the soft sell. So what's important as a business owner is the networking, the going to business groups, engaging and listening as much as talking and pushing as well is important. And when you do that, the sales will follow.
How can people who want to discuss Keystone Procurement Group or Slua More with you, how can they get in contact with you?
Well, there's a number of ways. You can reach me at Keystone. You can contact me via the email address info@keystonepg for procurement group.ie. So that's info@keystonepg.ie. And likewise, the best way to get in touch with our services for Slua More, for the platform, is at the website itself, sluamore.com. And I'm involved on both sides of those very closely. So we'd be able to reach out and have a discussion with anybody who needs to get in touch and wishes to get in touch. I'm also on LinkedIn. You'll have to imagine me on LinkedIn, however, without the beard. My picture on LinkedIn might be a little bit dated, but I am on LinkedIn. You'll find me. You'll find me under Donnacha Phelan and search for Slua More, and you'll find me there.